What happens when law, business, and life collide? Each week on Lead Counsel, your host Tom Tona will take a deep dive into topics related to the law, the business of law, and life. There will be insightful discussions with industry insiders, experts, and thought leaders making significant contributions and meaningful differences in their fields of expertise. Tom is the founder and managing attorney at TonaLaw. He has been a practicing attorney since 1994 and the leader of TonaLaw since it opened in 2001. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with free information on law and the business of law, and to give you actionable tools related to each of these areas. Now, here's Tom.
Hey, welcome back to the Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Before we jump into today's topic, I just want to take a minute to thank the sponsors of the podcast. This episode is sponsored by TonaLaw. They're not just another law firm. They're defining what it means to fight for their clients. We get a lot of attorney referrals from across the country. We pay fee participation in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. We focus on integrity, innovation, and relentless advocacy. TonaLaw is proving that the business of law can scale without losing its heart. If you want to see how a modern firm is built for impact and happy client referrals, check out TonaLaw.com. Mention again the Lead Counsel Podcast, and I'm happy to get on the phone with you. This episode is also brought to you by Meet Gabby, the voice AI built for law firms. Gabby answers your phones 24/7, qualifies leads, and books consultations so you never miss another client. Imagine cutting intake time in half or giving every caller a 5-star experience. That's the power of Meet Gabby. Learn more at meetgabby.com. Mention the Lead Counsel Podcast. You can also hit me up, and I'm glad to make an introduction to the owner. I am here with Elise Buie and Mackenzie Corbin from Elise's law firm. Elise is a matrimonial family attorney out of Washington. And I'll start off with, I checked your Google reviews today and I saw you have 4.5 stars, 200 reviews. And that speaks volumes when you're a family lawyer, because I know it's one of those areas of law where people are just reluctant to give reviews in general, but then to get great reviews in that space. So I wanted to introduce the world to you guys that listens to this podcast. It's all lawyers and law firm related people and vendors. And I had such a great conversation with you guys back in July, centered around the concept of unreasonable hospitality, that I thought it would be great to share it with people. So Elise, Mackenzie, welcome to the show. Elise, I'll let you go first as the owner of the firm and you introduce yourself. And then Mackenzie, I'll let you jump in and introduce yourself, because your role is really interesting to me. And that was the other reason I wanted to have you on, was people hearing what firms are doing at the level you guys are playing at is super interesting to me to share the value with the listeners. So Elise, take it away. Tell us a little bit about you, how you got started with the firm, etc.
Well, thanks. First, thanks for having us. I mean, I really, really appreciate that you are having me and Mackenzie, because I think Mackenzie's role is such a unique role in the law firm space. And when we started the role, I was super happy to do it. Could not have been more excited about creating this unreasonable hospitality role. So like you said, I'm a family law attorney. I'm in Washington in the Seattle area. We run a remote firm. We've been doing it for 10 and a half years now, I think, almost 11. It'll be 11, I think, in February. So that's kind of a big deal. It has been, as you know, like a total journey of just a bunch of craziness. Like, anyone who thinks like any owner's got it all together, I don't know who they're talking to or what that owner is smoking that morning, because that is not how this goes. It's just like you and I were talking about before. I mean, just all kinds of things we learn. I feel like I learn every single day. I'm like, well, gosh, how did I go this long and not know this?
Right.
And it's daily. So I love the intellectual challenge of owning a law firm for sure. But I mean, my heart is in client care and how can we really elevate client care so that we are meeting people at the time they are going through a divorce, which can be so, just tragic and kind of just horrible, and really turn it into a more of a transformational process rather than a tragic process.
I love that. I love that view, because there's a lot of, especially in the New York market, I could talk about, like there's one person I know who does it that way out of all the matrimonial lawyers. And the bulk of them are the inflamers. They're the pour the gasoline, churn the files. I mean, I could tell you horror stories about And I'm sure you've heard about the practitioners. There's a person I can think of who locks files away that are not allowed to be touched the minute the retainer is eaten up, right? Like, I
Yeah.
am not even sure you could do that.
No.
So it's antithetical to what you're talking about, which is a client first. How do we come out of this better transformational thing? Like, I love the fact that you're taking something that is probably one of the most challenging areas of law in my view. I could litigate anything. I would not want to touch a family law file for all the money in the world. So I love that you take a different approach. And I think that's probably why you've risen to where you are. The firm has risen collectively. So now let's talk about the client-centered approach, because that's where Mackenzie comes in, right? So Mackenzie, what's your background, title? How'd you end up at Elise's firm?
Yeah, so I've been very lucky to land my role with Elise. I've been with the firm about 4.5 years and started on the intake side. So started, answering phones, and then became lead of that team, and then took some time off, had a baby, and then came back. And it was like leadership probably had talked about this all while I was on maternity leave and had all this planned for when I got back, because they approached me and they were like, hey, we're kind of thinking we want to create this client hospitality role. Would you be interested? And I said, heck yes, like throw me in. But my background has been across all different helping fields. So started in community mental health. Then I was an adult probation officer to high level felons. Then I went and worked in the funeral industry during COVID. And that got pretty heavy, and I wanted to travel, and I found Elise, and we just hit it off really great, and I've been here ever since.
That's awesome. So you were always in the service industry, so that kind of lends itself to this. I'm going to ping pong back and forth because you guys get my brain racing now. I'm going to get out my notepad as I write questions down. But Elise, what was the impetus while Mackenzie was on maternity for you to create this role?
Well, I am like literally Will Guidara's like most vocal, biggest fan of Unreasonable Hospitality. I mean, I read the book, no doubt, 8 times. Like
Really?
You have no idea. Unreasonable Hospitality was vocabulary to who I am as a person. And I didn't know it existed. Like, I am always that person who gives gifts and who comes up with ideas. Like, how can I support somebody when they're having a rough time? Like, I was raised and grown in New Orleans. And New Orleans is such a city of just rich, rich hospitality. And that's all I knew. And so, I mean, I used to get in trouble at my firm with the leaders. They'd be like, Elise, look at how many flower arrangements you send out in a month. I'm like, don't analyze my flower arrangements. And so now we created this gifts from the sky. So I have a certain amount of gifts I can just give, and nobody's going to tell me anything about them. But when I read Will's book, I was like, oh my gosh, like, who is this person and what is this? It just spoke to me like none other. And so, I mean, I've, gone to conferences specifically where he's spoken so I could meet him, I am all in Unreasonable Hospitality. And so it just became so obvious to me. I was like, we need somebody to focus on this, and somebody who brings this to every aspect of our firm. And I mean, no doubt we haven't even maximized it at all yet, all the things we can do.
Right.
But it's kind of like, I was actually on a call earlier this morning with a bunch of family law firm owners, and somebody was like, oh, what have you done recently that's kind of, weird or out there? And I was like, well, I made a house call to an elderly client on the Saturday after Thanksgiving to help her move. And they were like, you did what? And I was like, well, she really needed help, and she's older and she's getting divorced, older. And I just told her, I said, I'm happy to come and help you. So do you know what I mean? Just sometimes I think not forgetting why we go into this work. It's to help people.
As I was getting ready for this, because I spent some time reading through our notes, re-listening to the conversation we had back in July, I thought about how basic what the concept is, right? Like, how do you want to be treated as a client? Now, look, I run a personal injury firm, right? And we have a B2B silo, but I run a PI silo, which is B2C, very similar to what you guys do. And fundamentally, I had the same shift where I was like, we just need to treat people so shockingly nice, so well, so understanding and empathetic. And really, isn't that just the golden rule? Like, how do I want to be treated, right? I'm having a dispute with somebody right now over a different professional service being rendered to my firm. I just want to be treated well. I just want to be told the truth. And people have gotten so far away from that in the quest for
Yeah.
success and building and all of these different things. It's just going back to basics, really, right?
100%.
Like the fundamental rule is people just want to be treated nicely, you know?
I mean, to me, it's the ultimate in the human connection. I mean, like, it means so much to me when somebody, like yesterday, somebody in our team said to me, they were like, Elise, I love how you help me be a better person every day. I now think differently and I try to help people in my own community in ways that I hadn't thought before. I mean, no, does that mean I've grown something great? No, but does that mean there's somebody out there in some city who's giving to people in their community differently now? To me, that's a big life win, like
Right. It's an impact that you made on
yeah,
somebody else's life and there's a ripple effect to it.
right.
Right. I always say like Ryan McKean's like that, right? You both know Ryan, where Ryan McKean and John Fisher's mastermind. Have you
Oh,
done
yeah.
that, by the way? You've done that,
No, I
right?
haven't.
Oh,
I have.
you listen, you have to do it. And Mackenzie, you should bring Mackenzie with you. But I will tell you why it's so awesome. John holds his mastermind, probably
Yeah,
loses money on every single one. He puts all these lawyers in a room. They solve problems. But by doing that, Ryan McKean became a trial firm. Ryan
right.
McKean introduced with Jay Wayne, ends up doing that big $100 million
Right.
case. And think about the ripple effects of just being good to each other.
100%.
Right. And John Fisher gets nothing from that other than he's well known. He does get med mal referrals and stuff throughout New York, but he doesn't do it for that. He does it to give back to the profession. So like,
Completely.
it's really based upon your motivation and your intention too. You're not doing it for the applause. You're not doing it for the money. You're doing it for the impact. What impact are you having on the one person on your team? And then what impact is that person having?
Yeah.
Right. It's super powerful to me. So maybe it's me getting older. I'm 57, but I think a lot
Me
more
too.
about my societal impact than I do, am I going to be the next Steve Jobs or whatever, right? The odds are I'm not going to be, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Actually, he wasn't a great person from everything I've read and learned. So even though he created great products, but I want to get back to the journey of this. So you have this epiphany, like the lights go off, the book is speaking to you. You're like, I have to do something within my firm. You go back, you start talking to people, everybody's on board for it, or is there any opposition like, hey, Elise, no, we're not, that's not a good idea?
Well, there's definitely opposition whenever we're bringing on, an admin role that, they can't tie an ROI to, which is fair. I
Yep,
mean,
yep,
because I want them to pay attention to that because
right,
some people grow themselves out of business,
right,
without really paying attention to the finances of things.
yes,
But I think that, I was able to make a case for why it was important to me and why it would be important to our clients and how I thought Mackenzie was really the right person for that role, because I think that with her background in those helping industries, and I mean, she had shown us in her work on intake how well she connected with people. And I
right.
mean, that is the key here, is being able to connect with people. And I think Mackenzie bridges that gap between connecting with the clients, but then also connecting with the legal teams, trying to understand, like, if maybe the client's upset, she can kind of talk to all sides and figure out, where was the disconnect? And maybe, maybe the person's not a good fit for our firm, or maybe our legal team missed something, or they promised something that they didn't, act on. And Mackenzie can bridge some of that and have some of those communications that I think really help, because we're a big firm on feedback. We want people to give us
Of
feedback.
course. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Mackenzie really yields a lot of that feedback.
So Mackenzie, let's get clear. So, because there's going to be a lawyer somewhere who's like, she's not a lawyer. You're not a lawyer, right?
Not.
You don't know
I'm not.
anything about how to file motions and do all the technical legal work, right? But you understand people, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you and Elise start talking. She says, hey, we have this role. What was your reaction?
There wasn't a question about it. It was immediate yes. It was like, just my heart was, yep, go for it. Go do it. But, I've been with the firm for 4.5 years. And I say this in probably every performance review that I have. We're asked about how aligned we are with the firm and the mission and the vision of the firm. And I score myself very high because I do believe in the vision of EBFLG, and I have for the last 4.5 years, and I think that's why they asked me to be in this role, is because I try and live that, I try to be the same person inside of work and outside of work, but I definitely, like, as soon as I'm logging in, am an EBFLG employee. I'm speaking on behalf of EBFLG. Like, this is who I am professionally.
That's awesome. It takes a while, right? Like you might go through some people. I know in my firm, we've danced with iterations of this. We tried it virtually, didn't work, had some intake people who I thought were people focused. I'm just going to put it that way. Let's say I started auditing calls, and just a little side note, if anybody's listening to this, everybody should be recording and auditing calls. You need team members that will do that, because you'd be really surprised, not in a pleasant way, of what you hear. So,
well, and you should have employees who hold themselves accountable. Like, I just had a client call 30 minutes before we started this, and it did not go great. And I was copying and pasting the transcript, like showing the team like what I was saying in response, because it just should be transparent. You should see exactly what's happening. You should know what I'm saying in response to this. So yeah, having somebody in this role who will also hold themselves accountable, I think is really important. And just to say like, hey, I did not hit the target on this one. What kind of feedback do you have for me?
Right. And listen, I think too many people, it's a weird dynamic going on, and maybe it's just in our practices. But so I started the call with you guys. You could tell I had a pain point going on. I said, Elise, I got to tell you a story. I had 3 consent to change attorneys come across my desk in a span of a month, and I'm killing myself for these cases, and they're being processed, but no one's asking the question, like, what's going on? That, like, I'm killing myself. The average cost of acquisition, $2,500. So that cost me $7,500, and my average legal fee is about $25,000. That's $75,000 that I will never see. Yeah. I'm not saying that from a point of pride. I'm saying that from there's a very real impact to not being client focused, right? So 100%. So I started doing what Mackenzie does. Only I started doing it. I jump in, I start calling all these clients. And I guess I've grown because there was no defensiveness. There was no fear. It was just pure, I just wanted to understand how to get better, right?
Curiosity.
But I think it's a mindset shift, right? You got to be curious. Yes. And I know more attorneys that would have been like, F that client, they're crazy. No, you got to, listen, they're voting with their feet.
Yep.
Right? Same as with team members if they leave. And it sounds like you guys do EOS.
We do.
EOS?
Well, I would say a modified version. I mean, we've done EOS since about 2021. We are not like rabidly strict EOSers, but I mean, we definitely run meetings across the firm and, manage a lot of data and, dashboards. And so.
Yeah, we're at the point now where we're looking at, do we self-implement? Because we've been doing it about 3.5, 4 years now. But again, that feedback's the only way you get better. Like I had 250 clients I was calling like, hey, how was your experience? Right? So I tell you guys that story. And so but I think it's really important. And I think you hit it on the head, Mackenzie, to hear you talk, you clearly get up excited to do what you do every day. Right. And that to me says everything, because then you don't feel like you're working hard. You actually like, I get to do this every day and I love to do it. Right. Yeah. When I read your background again, I was kind of surprised, too, because you were in a tough field. You were a probation officer. Like for you to be I can feel the warmth when you're talking, and I can see why you're going to be great at the role that you're in currently, right? But to hear you came, because I have friends in law enforcement and probation, all that stuff, they're kind of tough and cold and closed off and exactly opposite of you. Maybe that's why you got out of it. I don't know.
Well, and it all comes down to building rapport. And I had to do that as a probation officer. If I was going to get them to do anything, they had to respect me and vice versa. So building that rapport, and honestly, this is like my number one tip for anybody who wants to get into this role, is you have to have active listening skills. That is absolutely pertinent for this role. You can't have an ego. You have to be a listener, and you can't take it personally. It's not personal.
No, it's not. And when you think about it from the point of view, like we all pay money for services, right? Like I hire lawyers and accountants and all of these people. So yeah, I'm going to develop feelings of trust or distrust, empathy. And like I was saying to a lawyer, look, you make a mistake on a file when you're connected to somebody and the clients actually feel bad for you.
Right.
All law firms, I'm going to say that again, all law firms make mistakes. There are mistakes that go on. That doesn't mean there's malpractice or unethical behavior. There's mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
And when you tell a client that you've bonded with, hey, man, I got to tell you, we screwed something up, they actually sympathize with you. Unless you haven't bonded with them, unless you don't have that trust with them. And now all of a sudden you're dealing with a different kind of animal, a different kind of fire. And, I'm trying to weave that in because we have litigators that work for us, trial lawyers that work for us, right? Other than alligators, they're the most prickly people there are trial lawyers, right? They're paid to be adversarial.
Totally.
Right. So the fact that you guys have figured out a way to bridge the gap between the legal teams, that not a lot of them even love talking to clients, and the clients is fantastic. I love where you've brought this so far. Give a breakdown of the actual role, the way you envision it, Elise, and then Mackenzie, like, what is your day? You sign on a Monday. What does your day look like? Let's give people a real granular about the role itself.
Well, I envision it as somebody who can, from an operational standpoint, they can create operationally unreasonable hospitality throughout the firm. So that means like communication with clients, like creating clear communication, figuring out like if we're getting feedback from clients on certain issues, let's say billing issues, or they're not getting calls back from their attorney enough, or they don't get enough case updates, actually operationally figuring out how can I put things in place that bridge that. Maybe it's not the legal team giving case updates. Maybe it's somebody else on our team giving case updates. Maybe it's us making these calls where we're reaching out to clients in a non-billing fashion. And that's one of the things for Mackenzie's role. Nothing she does is ever billable. So people feel so free to reach out to her and talk to her. And
that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
I mean, every consult that I do, I tell people, there is this person named Mackenzie who will never bill you. You can talk to her about all things. And I'm like, and if I'm driving you crazy because somehow I've taken the case and I'm messing up, feel free to tell Mackenzie I'm messing up because she will tell me. She'll be like, Elise, you're messing up. Like John Smith is not happy. You need to do better. I mean, and that's really important. And then I think the other piece is, how do we actually see our clients as real humans in this process where they're maybe going through like special ed IEP with their children and they're struggling. And I mean, just getting us all the paperwork feels overwhelming while they're also going to these school meetings where we can send them something, whether it's, a bath bomb or a candle, where we're acknowledging that we understand they're going through this very difficult time in a very difficult process, and that we see them and we encourage them and that it's going to be okay. I mean, kind of like when I went to this lady this past weekend, I mean, she was sitting amongst all this stuff and I was like, I got boxes, I got feet boxes, like I can organize and, and actually be able to bring some peace to somebody's world. And in my mind, we should be bringing that peace, regularly. Like I am, like I said, a big gift giver. I mean, just today I had 2 different instances where I was like, what did we send that person? And what did we do? And in both incidents, people had not done anything. And that to me is a big loss. Like we are not seeing those opportunities. And those weren't on Mackenzie. They were totally related to, other people. But it's one of those things, like just teaching that, like when you're seeing those opportunities. And I'm not saying you have to give big gifts. I mean, I write handwritten cards to my team all the time. I got a note from a paralegal today who's like, I got your card. And she's like, it literally turned my whole week around. Like, I don't know, just seeing people. I mean, really seeing them and actually acknowledging that you see them, that you appreciate what they're going through, and that you care. I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing, is just caring about, for me, it's every single person on my team. And my goal is that, it's like Elise's trickle down economics, but if I can show every human on my team individually that I care about them, that I see them, and that I'm with them in supporting them, even if that means they're going to go on to other jobs. Because people will leave and they'll go do other things. And I want them to do that if that's what they want to do. And, whatever journey they're on, but then they can then be in a place where they're giving to our clients and they're
Right.
doing that same thing for our clients. Because my goal is then that our clients can bring that to their children. I mean, because my highest goal is that children of divorce do not suffer, that they
Right.
have a transformed family and it's a healthy two-home environment and that they can
Right.
thrive in it.
And that's a big deal because as we all know, so I think you were saying you're same age as me, right?
Yeah,
57.
57.
Something happened as we were growing up as kids where the rate of families breaking up and the way it happened, the generational trauma is rampant right
So,
now that we see as an impact of when we were kids. And
yep.
so to me, that is an amazing vision. You know, you're talking about impacting generationally, right? And Mackenzie, you have your own family now. And that's why I think it's so great that you found Elise and Elise found you because you found what you're supposed to be doing. I mean, I look at your face, you have this empathetic look on your face as she's speaking, right? And I hope if people see this and we put it up on YouTube, you know, and if you're just listening audibly, she has this empathetic look as Elise is describing this generational mission that maybe you'll never be $100 million family law firm. I don't think it matters because
No.
what you'll be remembered for is the generational impact you created for the clients, for your team. And to me, that speaks volumes. We know a lot of rich, miserable people.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Definitely.
I mean, like, I know a lot of rich, miserable people. I'd like to lay my head down on a pillow at night and know that, you know, I kind of did the same thing for my clients and it didn't translate right away, but breaking the business model to say, I don't want to just make money as a PI lawyer. I want to be able to try cases and have lawyers and lawyering going on that I would want my wife to hire
Yep.
if I was tragically injured or I died, right? And it's always a shift too when you get new team members on who worked in other law firms. I don't know
Oh,
if you guys see that. Do you see that on your side?
oh my gosh. I mean, I could tell you, I recently had a situation where I actually had to reach out to other owners. We had an attorney who used to work with us who was so rude in emails where I had to reach out to owners and apologize because I was
Ugh,
like, this is not how I practice law. This is not how I treat people. And when I got in and saw what had happened, I was like, fascinating. Like, obviously, it's an operational problem on my end that we
right.
need to fix. But it was wild to see because that to me is the worst thing that I can do is have somebody on my team who does not share the values and the mission and the culture because I am all about civility in our profession and, you know, like really
Yeah.
trying to raise up the bar of excellence, not get in the mud with anybody.
Right. Listen, and your field, again, it's challenging, but so is PI, right?
Oh,
PI is the
yeah.
same thing. Any litigation field, there is a certain sector of lawyers and team members that they just don't practice the way we want to practice. And so you
No.
got to kind of be able to make the hard calls, the hard decisions. It's not always easy either. Like
Oh,
when your core values are being tested,
right.
and it happened to me at the tail end of when I first spoke to both of you, where I had the same situation, very similar. And, you know, I probably waited too long because with me, I'm kind of like, if I don't know what to do and it's my first go around with something, I want to make sure I'm making the right decision. So I tend to go a little slower.
Totally.
I probably went too slow and it almost cost me way more than it did. But in the end, I'm just like, I'm trying to have grace for myself too. I think that the
Yeah.
same way you show grace to everybody else, sometimes we're the hardest on ourselves. So quick break to thank Meet Gabby, the voice AI that answers your phone, screen leads, and books consults 24/7. They'll even send out retainers if the person on the other end of the phone asks for a retainer. If intake is slowing you down, check out meetgabby.com. This episode is supported by TonaLaw, a modern law firm built on integrity and innovation. Learn how they're changing the game at TonaLaw.com. Attorney referrals accepted from across the country. You'll see what it's like when you send us a case. You'll have some happy clients. Mackenzie, give me a breakdown of your week, your day. Like, what does it look like for you on a given week? I know you're part-time right now, right?
Yeah, there's no lack of work though, even though there's
I'm
part-time
sure.
hours. The days are full. And what's really unique about my role is that, Raina, our COO, she refers to me as the soil of the firm. So like I kind of am just everywhere. I talk to every different person in every different department. So when I first was given this role, it was really my personal goal was to make sure that I had a one-on-one connection with every single person in the firm because, I was intake, I was just answering the phones, but it's more than that here. And so I think it's really important, and Elise encourages that, organic connection across the firm. So day to day, we'll just go through my day today. So it's really looking at our systems, like what's working, what's not working. Today, I figured out that some of the emails that go out to our clients from me, data is not being tracked with those emails. So I don't know how many of those are being opened. And
Okay.
that's a problem because I need to know what's working and what's not. So that's something that I've been digging into today because data tells the story. We need to know what's working, what people are responding to from me. So everybody gets just this huge library of resources from me that is broken down by matter type. So it could be divorce without kids, divorce with kids, parenting plans, modifications, all of the things that fall under our umbrella. And a lot of people respond and they'll say, what the heck is this? Can you walk me through this? And that's the beauty of having a non-billable role is that they're not stressed to ask me to hop on a call and help them to figure this out. And they're actually getting their documents to their legal teams faster, named correctly, and in the right folders that the legal team needs to have them in so that they can start doing whatever research documentation they need to do.
Right.
So it is kind of a bridge position.
I was literally just thinking the same word. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the genius of this has to be kind of slowed down. I know we only have an hour or, whatever we have left, a half an hour, but it's genius. Because what do you hear from clients? I don't hear from my lawyer. I don't know what's going on. What it really is we communicate in a certain way. It's not as effective for clients who literally, could be blue collar or they're in a different field of even white collar, right? Doctors hide from me because I'm a big bad lawyer and all I want is a narrative. And then I have to say to them, Doc, it's just a narrative. Get on a phone, I'll explain it. So what's genius is having a catalog of resources that I'm sure Elise spent many, many hours creating, or you guys spend it together creating. It's also great marketing materials, but it's truly a fantastic resource. You are a bridge between the lawyers that think a certain way and talk a certain way and the people that communicate a certain way. And there's no assumptions about what they know. You're literally saying you have all the time in the world you want to understand this. I mean, they're going to be the first ones that are also happy to pay their bills.
Exactly.
Right? When they see an NC no charge next to your name, Mackenzie, they're going to be like, how could I not pay Elise? I didn't get charged for an hour of time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that's why it was so important for me to create those one-on-one connections with the attorneys, because I learned very early on, attorneys are they're interesting creatures.
They're special. They're special.
They're feral cats. And I am one.
I want to keep it nice because I still have to talk to these people every single day.
Oh, they know they're feral cats. They pride themselves.
Yep. I use the same analogy. I was talking to one of my operators. I have a team of managers and then I have a COO. And I was talking to one of them the other day. I said, I told you it was like herding cats, right? You get one in the corral, the other one's escaped. So
100%.
Keep going, Mackenzie. Keep going about your day because you're unpacking a world of wisdom.
Yeah. So just kind of going off of, when I communicate with, let's say I have a legal team I need to talk to about a call I just got off of, and the client's not very happy. So it's my job really to come in and look at it from all angles. So I myself am going in and looking at the notes before I hop on the call with the client, just so I have some sort of context. But then it's like, okay, they're upset because they haven't heard from you in 2 weeks and they don't understand the billing process. Those are two things that I can help with very quickly. Here's a billing handout. It explains everything that goes into our billing. But also, if you need to hop on a call, here's my number. What kind of level of communication do you want to risk throughout the entirety of your case? That's something that's really important that we revisit from time to time with our clients, because some clients hire us and they're like, don't talk to me. I don't care what you're doing. Just keep it very minimal.
Get me divorced.
And then we have some very high need clients who are like, I want to hear from you every single week. I want to know, even if there is no update, please still call me. So we set these standards in our client information sheet that the client fills out as soon as they come to us. So we know what they're expecting from us. So yeah, it's kind of my job to go between the two parties, look at it from all angles. What do we need to do? What's the solution here? Do we need to up our communication? Do we need to schedule a billing call with our billing liaison? Would that help them better? Do I need to check with them every week and just check in? Not a problem. Or are they just having a bad day and they just needed somebody to listen to them? But along with that, there's a lot of kind of coaching that has gone into our whole team, really. Like when Elise started talking about unreasonable hospitality, people were kind of freaked out about it. Like they were like, this doesn't sound right. Like this is weird. And that's the whole thing, is that it is weird because you're going above and beyond what is the expectation. So Elise has also given our teams have a budget. Every quarter they have a budget that they can spend on gifts internally or externally. So they can, we have people going through hard times right now. Let's send them a gift basket or flowers or, hot chocolate or just something little that says, I'm thinking of you. Elise herself, she is the queen of handwritten notes. And I think that she has ignited that for some other people on the team as well. I myself keep a stack of notes at my desk and a stack of stamps so that I know it doesn't leave my mind. It's in the note right when it happens.
Yep.
So yeah, operationally, it really is looking at the firm as a whole and who we are as a firm. And I when I was coach of the intake team, I said to them, we continue to set ourselves apart from all law firms in Washington state because we listen, we do the active listening, we repeat back to them what we hear. But then when they hire us, we're doing all of these other things that say, we see you, we hear you, we're here for you. And here's what we're going to do to help you through this.
Man, I'm speechless. I'm never speechless, but you guys got this down to a science. Like everything's an iteration, right? Next year it'll be even better. But man, you kind of gave me goosebumps. And I am an emotional guy. I wear my heart on my sleeve a lot. But that's all people want. They just want to feel heard and seen. And I use a lot of examples of the lawyers I have. I got these trial cats and they are just really wild. Like they're great at what they do. But I'm like, they're like, I don't want to talk to the client. I'll have the paralegal. So I said, listen, just listen.
Yeah.
Like when I have a client upset, and a lot of times with PI clients, they don't even know why they're upset. They're frustrated at the doctors. They're frustrated because they're in physical pain. Very similar to what you guys do because it's painful to think about a family being ripped apart, right? So it's just empathy and active listening. Let's talk about that because as somebody who spent way too much of my life talking, the value of listening has really taken hold and making people understand that when I'm talking to them, they're the only ones in the room.
Yep.
That moment is the only moment that matters. And when I don't know what to do, care. That's all. Like that's a Buddhist philosophy that I learned. Like, when? Right now, it's all we have, right? And who? The person you're with. The person you're with, give them your undivided attention. They will feel that. And when you don't know what to do or say, just care. Just care. And so like you just embodied it. We see you. We hear you. We are here for you, right? And we're going to see you through this. That doesn't mean you're going to win every case.
Lord,
right.
no.
Right?
Yeah, there's no promises, but it kind of, I said a while back, I just want every client to feel like our only client.
Yes. And how do you build it operationally, which is fantastic because
that is the key.
I keep saying I want to scale caring.
Yes,
You have figured out the elements fundamentally where if you triple your case size and your staff size, you can still do the same MO, just adding more Mackenzies. Like if you had a twin sister, I'd try to hire her, Mackenzie, right now. And I'll tell you, since I met you guys, for the last 6 months, I've been fighting to create this position. And I got a lot of resistance from one person who's taking a much smaller role in the firm at this point. It was an outside vendor, but he was just opposed to it. He's like, what do you need a cheerleader for? I'm like, it's not a cheerleading role.
It's a totally different.
It's the bridge. It's the bridge between team members, owner, and clients so that you're more cohesive. You're the glue. You are the soil that, fundamentally everything else becomes easy because you're all connected,
Mhm.
right? That gives Elise time to say, I'm going to do these notes and these content things and these gifts for my team members and this, because you guys are all connected at that point. You're like that glue that holds everything together. So I think it's fantastic. Like, you figured out that sauce, and I'm sure it took a while. Like, could not have been
Oh, yeah.
easy.
Well, and one thing that we had, I think, two things that I've noticed that Mackenzie does that are so powerful. She has started sharing more about, like, around the firm, what people are doing from an unreasonable hospitality way. And so by sharing, what somebody is doing, it really sparks a lot of ideas, and it sparks a lot of interest, I think, in people who might be hesitant to do it, and that they might not think about it in the same way. But then also, we use unreasonable hospitality as one of our KPIs for people. So instead of getting people to bill more, we actually put in KPIs for acts of unreasonable hospitality, both internally and externally. So we actually put our money where our mouth is. Do you know what I mean?
I love that. I love that.
And then I was going to tell you the other thing that sometimes happens. We had a client recently, and I mean, it's like my greatest prideful moment. She literally told Mackenzie she felt like working with my team was like being in a spa, a legal spa. And I was like,
Wow.
I'm like, well, now that is a win. Like,
That's a win, right? That's a win. And it's funny because I'm assuming that, we all had this seminal moment in our law firms when it was you and a laptop or you and one person, right?
oh
How
yeah.
many people do you have now, Elise?
About 40 something with, full-time people and
Wow.
contractors and
Right, right. That's fantastic because I'm sure that you practice that way from day one.
oh yeah,
Right.
for
And
sure.
so one of the things that I was trying to figure out and struggle with, because I'm 25 years into this at this point in my own practice, was I always practice this way, right? Like, I was the guy that was literally, I call a client on the way home, on the way into the office. I didn't have to, I wanted to, right? Just to say, hey, how's it going? Right. And so I never dealt with the operational pain points
No.
until I scaled really much larger, about the same size, right? About 40 people. And I realized, like, there's no uniformity in that policy anymore, right? Everybody lawyers differently. Everybody thinks of clients differently. And so I had to go back to grassroots, and we kind of nuked everything at once, ripped the Band-Aid off and said, all right, now we know who we are. We know what's important to us, our core values, and we're going to filter everything through those. So, kudos to you with the way you guys have dialed this in. And one of the things that you just mentioned, it's like we're, kind of heading in the same direction, was I was like, all right, for the hardcore lawyers that are like, this is a bunch of foo-foo nonsense. Let's talk about what year was the position created, and Mackenzie, you came on.
April of 2024.
Okay. So from April of 2024, talk to me about impact to the business, Elise, at the top first, and then Mackenzie, you can give me your take on it. But Elise, even though it's not an ROI-driven seat or activity, what was the impact to your business on the financial / KPIs that you track, for that type of business data and analytics?
Yeah, well, I mean, it has radically improved our feedback loop where, we do not get the same feedback we used to get. We used to get people telling us, like, you don't tell me enough about, the case or follow up or whatever, or billing questions and things, and just accounts receivable. Like, when we went into, I mean, I'd have to go back to the actual data, but I mean, we have, since we started this, and even a little bit before Mackenzie came on, I mean, we have been on this thing where, because I became kind of insane about the idea of communicating with our clients consistently, because when I would see clients complain, and then inevitably I would see them not pay an invoice. And then, I mean, at one point, our accounts receivable was like $350,000. And I was just like, what in the world? Now we have, I mean, like $40,000, in a
Wow.
multi-million-dollar office. And,
Right.
I mean, my CFO, because I'll be like, oh my gosh, we need to collect that. She's like, Elise, it's like 0.001. You're good. Like,
Right,
you're
right,
fine.
right. You're like me. You see a certain amount, and you're like, so. But again, that's palpable, right? So for the naysayers who think foo-foo, think about the ROI of Mackenzie C, even though it's not, and I'm using air quotes for anybody that's listening, even though it's not a production seat, I would argue that that's a direct correlation related to client satisfaction. You will not
Oh, I
have
think,
a client
yeah.
that doesn't pay your bill, that is complaining to the bar association or anything else, when you've got Mackenzie and your policy of unreasonable hospitality woven throughout, right? Like it's a very calculatable ROI, right? Now,
Exactly.
have you seen an increase in gross and net based upon people who are so blown away by it that they're referring friends and family? You're seeing an increase in those types of referrals, which are the best referrals, we know too.
Well, I mean, we are still such a referral heavy firm. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation you and I could have, but 100%. I mean, we get people who will say, oh, my friend, told me this and that. And I mean, referral business is huge. And I think though, for me, for just a visionary standpoint, I love it because it allows me to be me. I mean, I have operationalized literally like my heart, which to
Right,
me, like that's game changing to be
right,
able to be that person who can go do a house call, who can, adopt a family from one of my team members' friends who's struggling. And I just get to do that. And I get
right.
to, do you know what I mean? Like
Of
really
course.
just, I don't know, make an impact and actually just bring daily kindness into the world. Because boy, do I think from a world leadership standpoint, I mean, kindness, integrity, excellence, and just basic human caring, I think is missing big time in
Right.
a lot of arenas. And I think as lawyers, we have such a privilege and honor to be in this profession. And for me, I feel it's such an honor to help families at such a fragile time. The thing that I can do best is to show them care and love, because I really want them to show their children that care and love. And I want them to show their soon to be ex that care and love too, so that they can actually co parent successfully.
Yeah, look, again, it's such a challenging area of law to the extent that I have a lot of friends that do it, right? And I talk to a lot of people that do it. And it's so emotional. It's so emotionally devastating. And in a lot of ways, it does compare to like the personal injury arena, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so it's just a different type of pain. And I would argue in a lot of respects, like in PI, there are a lot of people that get better or, percentages better, where I have seen 80-year-olds that went through a horrible divorce that are still talking about it 40 years later, like it happened yesterday,
Oh, yeah.
where you have people thanking you for a spa-like experience. Like
Yeah.
that can literally change the trajectory of an entire family.
100%.
Right? Like that's really, really impressive. So I have to ask another question, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. The communication piece. I know you're also heavy in tech. So give me a rundown on, where you have implemented technology to aid in communication. Drip emails you mentioned earlier, email campaigns, where you can systematize that and automate it, but then you can get the responses in. And then if there's something that needs your attention, it can be alerted. But are you using like a case status, a HONA or something like that?
No, we use HubSpot and we do
Okay.
not use one of those. We've looked at case status a couple of times, and actually, I just asked my team to look at it again. But we do case status meetings every week as a team, as legal
Gotcha.
teams. So our
Yep.
pods sit in these case status meetings, and then it is the responsibility of somebody in the pod, depending on what pod it is, whose it is, to actually reach out to clients, like Mackenzie was talking about, based on the client's desire of cadence of communication. And so then we will reach out and make sure they get updated. And then we also have minimum standards of care, where we have guidelines for our internal team where everyone is to get a response within 24 hours, of any communication they get. And that is something that is, I mean, I am a little draconian about. I mean, new people who come into my pod, I can tell they get annoyed because I'll be like, oh, so and so called. And then they'll get another call. And I'm like, I thought you called them back. And they're like, no, I didn't. I waited. I'm like, yeah, no, waiting, not the right answer. like,
Right. Right.
and I mean, I'm not saying I always have a substantive response for somebody. Like sometimes I'll reach out and say, I got your message. I don't know what the answer is right now, but I'm going to schedule a time on my calendar for us to connect. And I will have the answer by that time, because you
Yeah.
can't respond to everything substantively.
Right.
But I mean, people pay us good money. And if they're asking a question, we need to respond to them timely. Like
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it makes me cray
Absolutely.
cray when that doesn't
No,
happen.
and I'm glad I'm not alone in that obsession because
No.
I have literally lost my mind over the fact that like we use a case management system. We're moving to a new one. And I said, we either need to make sure that we have the same analytics that are in case status, which are, they give you very deep dive analytics
Yeah.
about who's not answering text messages and how fast they're being answered. And look, it's not about micromanagement. If you don't want to embrace my 24-hour rule, then you're in the wrong law firm.
Exactly.
Period,
100%.
right? Like I manage the amount of volume that people handle purposely. And if you
Yes.
don't want to do that, that means you're not aligned with our core values,
No.
right? So I love that 24-hour rule. I'm glad I'm not alone in my maniacal obsession with communication. Because I'm blown away when I'm like, I had a client at the beginning, I want to say about 6 months ago, that was going to fire us, even though we had $100,000 offer on the file and we were going to get 150, which was 2 times what the case was other firms would have settled it for. I lost my mind. I called the client. I said, please come in. Don't divorce me yet. I need to talk to you. I said, listen, my lawyer's unbelievable at results.
Right.
Not so much at telling you why they're great or that they're even in the middle of this. And I apologize because there's an old school belief among a lot of PI lawyers. Never tell a client anything but the last offer. And some of them, they're not with my firm anymore. You know what I'm going to say. They will lie. They will tell a client, look, they're at 75. Maybe I can get 80. So this way, when they tell them they got 150, it looks great. But that's not what the ethics rules require.
Right.
And it's not what I believe in. When I call a client, I go, listen, we got you 75. We're going to get to 100. I'm pretty sure if you let us do our dance, we can close it at 150. Just let me do my job. And I promise you at the end, our desire is aligned with yours to get you the best result.
Yeah.
So I delivered news. I'm not afraid the client's not going to leave if you do it that way. It's shocking to me. But that's where you see people's take their family to work day where they can be practicing for 30 years, but they're just afraid to have a conversation. Like, they're not going to leave. It's how you communicate. It's the questions you ask, and are you listening, right? Are you listening to their feedback?
I feel like I have had some of the most profound conversations with clients who are the most angry at our firm. And I have been able to get on the phone and treat them respectfully with zero ego, just truly being curious and like telling them how much I really value their feedback. I mean, I've had one lady, she was livid. And I mean, she had a right to be livid. And I was like, wow. Well, then I actually asked her, I'm like, can I call you back again? I was like, I would love for somebody else on my leadership team to actually hear this directly from you. Because I said, I think it's more powerful than if I summarize it and tell them. I said, for them to feel what you went through in this circumstance, I said, it will impact our hiring, our firing. It will impact everything. And she was willing to do that. And she's no longer mad at me. Actually, I just got a Christmas thing from her.
Right.
But you know what I mean?
It's crazy because we're talking about fundamental human skills, right? That you get, Mackenzie gets, I get. And as you start to elevate your focus, right, your self-awareness, clearly you guys are both very, very self-aware. I don't want to end this without asking one question. And, I could keep going because you guys have just fascinated me because you have literally figured out how to scale a white glove experience in one of the most, challenging areas of law, to be honest with you. So like, if you can make somebody say, I got a legal spa experience in a matrimonial setting, I mean, the world is your oyster, ladies. The world is your oyster. So the active listening, people suck at it. I'm trying to get better at it every day. I can't say I'm probably a 3 out of 5, but I'm way better than the 1 I used to be. Did you guys take any kind of training for active listening, read any kind of books, or have anybody coach you on active listening?
I did not. I like to say that raising 6 humans was a big exercise in active listening, especially when you have teenagers and all you're getting is grunts. So your active listening skills get very tuned because you're like, that was a grunt versus a grunt.
Right.
Really trying to dig in. And I mean, I joke all the time that it is my children who improved my skills at being able to really hear what somebody is saying.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah,
Mackenzie?
mine came. I mean, I've had formal training in it before I came to the firm, but I will say one of the cool things that we do on the intake side of things is we review our calls as a team together. And we write notes about what went well in the call, what didn't go well in the call, and then we talk about it. And that has brought up a ton of active listening refinement tools that we've discussed as a team. I mean, since I've been here. It's just built into our calendar. It doesn't move. And I still attend those because I still want to be a part of it. Like I still want you guys to tell me how I can do better and
Right.
just, stay sharp.
No, listen, I've been trying to train certain team members on how I do things, right? And I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I love the idea of reviewing those intake calls. Because again, we record all calls. I'm happy to put any call I do with a client, an upset client on the line. And I'll just share this one story, but I had a lawyer who they never did it for 20 years at the firms they were at. Their mission was make money, make money, make money.
Yeah.
And the guy had a paradigm shift last year because I recorded a call telling the client about the win that he achieved. And I was like, look, man, I want you to make these calls, but listen to this client. I told her about a $200,000 settlement the guy got on a really challenging case. It was just like a home run. And she broke down crying.
Yeah.
And I played it for him after because he was in court and he's a very humble guy. And I said, look at the difference you made in her life. Please start thinking of these clients and the impact you can have. And ever since then, he's talking to clients. He's understanding. He's starting. And it took a while, right? Like he was a killer, but I'm trying to make it so that, look, I'm probably one of the toughest guys I know. That doesn't mean you have to be that with everybody, right?
And in
You should
every
be
setting, right?
in every set. When you're really confident in who you are, some of the toughest people I know, and again, I do martial arts and stuff, they have the biggest, warmest smile. They greet you with the biggest hug.
Yeah.
Because there's no level of insecurity or defensiveness that's there, right? So listen, I will keep going if you guys let me. So I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much for coming on. If you're listening to this, please leave your feedback, on social media or whatever, and feel free to connect with Elise and Mackenzie. I'll put your LinkedIn profiles up. And if you want me to put any other links, just let me know. And I'm probably going to do a post that invites people to ask questions about it because I find what you have built really fascinating, really admirable, really inspirational. I'm going to make my team listen to this and say, listen, 2026 is the year I'm forcing this issue again. I don't care if we start part-time, but we're doing this because
I love
it's
that.
going to translate to the business side is not my concern. We're good on the business side. It's the human impact side that I'm concerned about. So listen, kudos to you guys. You have killed it. And if you need a family law attorney in Washington, Elise Buie's firm and Mackenzie Corbin, they are the people to go to because anybody gets called a spa in your setting, man, that is the highest compliment. That is the highest compliment. It really is. I mean, if you think about that, that's amazing. So listen, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. I'm sure I'm going to see you at one of the next Best Era things or another conference. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Lead Counsel Podcast. Your host, Tom Tona. Go anywhere podcasts are distributed. Follow us. Leave us a 10-star review. Share some episodes with your friends. And thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Thank you. This episode is sponsored by TonaLaw. They're not just another law firm. They're defining what it means to fight for their clients. We get a lot of attorney referrals from across the country. We pay fee participation in all jurisdictions where it's permitted. We focus on integrity, innovation, and relentless advocacy. TonaLaw is proving that the business of law can scale without losing its heart. If you want to see how a modern firm is built for impact and happy client referrals, check out TonaLaw.com. Mention again the Lead Counsel Podcast, and I'm happy to get on the phone with you. This episode is also brought to you by Meet Gabby, the voice AI built for law firms. Gabby answers your phones 24/7, qualifies leads, and books consultations so you never miss another client. Imagine cutting intake time in half while giving every caller a 5-star experience. That's the power of Meet Gabby. Learn more at meetgabby.com. Mention the Lead Counsel Podcast. You can also hit me up, and I'm glad to make an introduction to the owner.